Hello everyone! Welcome to October, where the leaves are changing, fall is in the air. We're going to go apple picking next week with the girls. I'm very, very excited about that. Also up here in Canada, October 8th is Thanksgiving. So that's going to be a big day for us here. And it's also Columbus Day. So I did set up a little discount if you use Ocean. If you want to sign up for the watch list, get 20% off for your first year or your first month. And my last post was about the cannabis sector right now. And I'll probably be doing a post following up about the FOMC and the rates and reactions there. It was expected. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into the indexes here. So the FOMC meeting was right here on a Wednesday. So it definitely had reaction throughout the day, and it really impacted the market with the volatility that we had. So a lot of people were trading the VIX, everything like that. But you can see this is the new trend line that I drew on the daily for downward trend. I had one back here too until it broke, and then it broke up. So we have this prior high here of 291.71. It did break it here, ran up for 2 days, but it seems like it can't hold above it. In fact, it looks, I don't know how to draw a head and shoulders on here, but it looks to me like a little head and shoulders. There's the shoulder, the head, and then the shoulder as well. So we shall see what this week brings. If it can close down below here, 289, I think we're definitely more in a bearish trend coming forward. It seems like, I don't know, it feels like with fall and everything changing, the trade wars are still going on. Things aren't settled with Canada. Not that that's going to super impact the market, but they said they wanted to have everything done by October 1st with NAFTA. So that could definitely put a kink in the system. Everything going on with Kavanaugh, the political climate has definitely impacted it a bit. This past week has been downward trend. We also saw Tesla have news and Facebook have news. So, until we can break this upward trend line, still feeling bearish on it down to this upward trend line right here, going into NASDAQ, into the index. So right here, I had this nice resistance right here and a downward trend line on the daily. Well, sure enough, look, it broke above, tested it, started down on that upward trend line and just broke above it, and has been strong ever since. So let's go ahead. We'll draw another, whoops, not a straight line. We'll draw another trend line and see if it can break out again. So here's that new trend line. We'll go ahead and we'll get rid of this one, remove. So we've got this upward ascending triangle here to look at it. And on the Russell, I'd had this triangle right here, these two, resistance and support line. Sure enough, broke down here. It tested it as resistance again, pretty much held below it. Then it had 2 days above, and boom, look at that, broken down. So that was pretty strong resistance / support. Once that support was broken, and it was trying to test it for a couple days, had the 2 days up, and then boom, Wednesday, big red day down, secondary red day down. And look, it's testing that 4 EMA. I'm really loving these 4, 8, and 15 EMAs. Also, if you guys know, you've read my blog post about pot, I do have this list up here of different pot stocks, and HMLS is a pot ETF from Canada. So if we pull that one up, you can see I'm still feeling bearish until this overall ETF will change and break this downward trend line. Once it breaks out, it does have a lot of CGC and Aurora in it, Tilray as well, which Tilray just sort of has a mind of its own. But I think it needs to go ahead and break that 150 level for it really to be in an upward swing. Otherwise, it looks, like we had these 2 massive red days, and this looks like it's going to be holding its resistance to me, 150. If it breaks that, then I think it might be more of a bullish move, but I think it will definitely test it. And let's go ahead and get into the watch list for the week. As always, guys, these are my personal opinion, so please trade at your own risk. I did have my Series 7 back in 2000, but it is not current, so please do your own due diligence and trade proper risk management. First on the long list, we have Irmd. Pull it out to the 15-minute chart. So I have resistance of 37.50, support of 36.75. And it does have 4.6 million in the float, short float volume of 68.13. And like we said, we'll pull it out on the year. It's breaking out on the yearly highs and lifetime highs for the company. So definitely keep it on watch. We also have CSBR, and I actually have to find out the float because CSBR and VRTX did not have the stock float on short squeeze. So I like to go to the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so 4.8 million on CSBR. And again, breaking out 52-week highs. It does look like it's parabolic. You know, it might pull back. I'd say if it pulls back, maybe a better entry around 16 down here. But on the 15-minute chart, we did have the upward trend all day, broke out the prior high, continued on up, and it looks like it's testing this prior high as support. So that I would use that as our support line, 1737. And resistance of 1790. It did have 48.53% short float volume, and we have HIIQ with 9.1 million in the float and 54.91% short float volume from Friday. So we had a massive run up, and then it sort of just trickled down and ended up in the middle of the range for the day. So I would look at 60 as support and 62.85 the high, or 62.90 the high of the year, which is also high of the lifetime for HIIQ, and it has had massive moves in the past. So you can see everywhere here. Look, I had it here as a breakout, boom, broke from 53 up to 62, had it back here 35, and it's up almost double from back here. So definitely keep it on watch. It has 9.1 million in the float, like I said, so it can move fairly quickly, just like Tilray. Tilray has, I think, what is it, 17.6 million in the float. This is less than that. So if the volume piles into it, then it can definitely move. Next one is VRTX. I hear my nugget is waking up from her nap. I have this one, you can see prior time where I had it for breakout. Sure enough, it broke out from 172. Now it's a potential support of 192.43, resistance of 193.78, and the float for this one, VRTX, is, I gotta be quick, guys, and little ones are not happy, 254 million in the stock float. Ooh. And so it does have 50% short float volume from Friday. Last but not least, we have a potential gap fill here setting up. It's starting to fill the gap, broke above. So I would use this as prior support, the prior high is support, so 21.20, resistance of 21.35, and it looks like it could keep on, fill this gap right here and continue on upwards motion. It did break out. You know, we might have, this trend line might provide resistance as well if it comes up here, so maybe 21.75 for potential exit if it finds resistance right there. And then getting into the shorts for the week. We all know Facebook had their secondary breach again. Back here was Cambridge Analytica, boom, dropped down. Well, on Tuesday, they found out they had that issue. This was the prior downward trend line, ran up, broke out from it, ran up for 2 days. Interesting. On Wednesday, their general counsel sold with their Form 4 that was filed. And on Thursday, Sherry Sandberg, the COO, sold off over 7 million in value of stock. So downward day on Friday, and it looks like it could potentially fall further down from there. I do have a support of 162.50 really down here, you know, the low of the day, and a potential resistance of 164.44, the after hours high. Also, Tesla had awful news with Musk. So I look at support of 267, excuse me, resistance of 267.02, support of 260.97, and every time Musk opens his mouth, basically their stock reacts. So now the SEC has basically said, hey, you're not allowed to be a CEO of a publicly traded company because everything you do, your tweets back here, oh yeah, I found funding. Yeah, boom. No, didn't find funding. Boom. And then, oh yeah, I'm talking to the banks. Whoop. Okay, no. SEC says, nope, you didn't actually have it. Boom. So watch for this for potential continuation downward and maybe a slow crawl down. That does have 129 million in the float. Facebook has 2.3 billion. Then we have SLMP. I would look for support of 1430, resistance of 1450. Basically, this one has had massive downward movement. It looks like it has potential move down to the 1380 area for further support, and then if that breaks down on to 13 area. So keep that one on watch. It does have 35.7 million in the float. We also have international paper. So international paper, I would look for resistance of 49.50, support of 49. We're looking at a new 52-week low. If we back it out to 5 years, you can see it's right at a support level, so it could potentially break down further. If it does break that, I would look for the 46 level and then on down to 43 or 44 area right down here. And international paper does have 402 million in the float. We also have Snapchat. Snapchat has not been doing well. I would say, I've got this on the weekly chart here, nice downward trend line. Until this downward trend line gets broken on the daily, I would say this is definitely going to continue in this downward motion. You know, I would say resistance of 850 and support of 841. When you look at the 15-minute chart, really did not look good on Friday. So we had massive down, bounce up, pull back. So I would look for that support of this after hours area of 850. You know, if you wanted to pull it up even further, if you want to go short, 865 as potential risk area. Getting into the potential long swings, I did look at a bunch of low floats that are in the same sort of motion as Snap. So they've had that downward trend line that I drew on the weekly chart, right? So I created that downward trend line on the weekly chart and looking for that to really be broken strong with some volume. So this one has some upward movement to it. It has been curling. The EMAs are starting to curl. We just had the 4 EMA curl over the 8, so it could be in that rotation for upward movement, but it does need some stronger volume behind it. We'll look at it on the yearly. You can see it's had downward trend and it could quickly run up, just like it ran down 1, 2, 3, 4 days from 1250 down to 9, or almost, you know, 40% value. We could see that run up happen as well with the shorts that might potentially get squeezed on it. So CDZI is one of those. We have FLWS as well. You can see I drew up these on the weekly chart, right? So it went up, came, it tested that level, and then it broke down below, and now that's become a support, excuse me, a resistance trend line. So once this resistance trend line is broken with volume, again, it needs to have that volume behind it. It could easily run up. We also have CAC, same scenario, downward trend line, but it needs to find that breakout. And SCON as well. So SCON, downward trend line. And what's really cool, if we actually look at this back on a 5-year chart, look at that. That trend line acted as support for a long time. So it kept coming down, testing it, sort of hovering around it, bouncing around it. And then they had the split, tested it, but dropped below it, and now it's become a resistance line. So it does need to break out on the daily, and it's starting to have volume. Looks like it wanted to test it there on Friday. But this one, I have to look and see what the float is on it, because I think it's like 5 million, and it could very quickly run. It is a semiconductor, up 2.8 million. So these are all on the longer term watch list, but I'm going to, you know, one thing I absolutely love about TradingView is you can easily, okay, just set an alert. It's good until October 30th for 30 days. If it crosses up above this trend line, I'm going to get an alert and an SMS message. It's going to let me know that I'm watching this stock. Hey, look, it just broke above. Look at the chart. Does it have the volume? Same thing with trade ideas. You can set the alerts really well. Look at that, staff too. So staff has had this downward motion. We have this support of 195. It's starting to have upward movement, and it could easily run up. You've seen it does have large days where it runs up like crazy and then it pulls back, and it's been using this area pretty much as around support, you know, maybe even down here for 179. So if you do get in, make sure that you use proper risk management with these lower floats as well. As always, guys, if you like my content, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Carpe Profit, and have a great week ahead.